Mike Kern here with Adam Emmenecker for another shoot-around segment. And Adam, we are off and rolling. The conference schedule starts on Saturday with Belmont hosting UIC in Nashville. But let's talk about the non-conference portion of the schedule. A little bit of a slow start, but the league is 30 plus games over 500 and sitting at 9 in the net rankings as a conference. Um, what are your thoughts? Where are we?
Yeah, Mike, here we are, 25-26 season. As you mentioned, it's hard to believe we're 10 games underway for most teams, or maybe 11, and already getting into conference play. I looked at the first couple weeks of the year. Obviously, a lot of new players, teams are a little bit new. You're trying to get the feel across the league, and after a couple weeks, I was curious. I was curious to see there was maybe a little slower start than I expected. A couple extra losses, maybe than you would have expected to see around the league. But now that we're 10 games in, I think the league's where you want it to be, right? So you look in the net rankings, Ken Palm, the Missouri Valley's ninth, traditionally kind of have been in that 8 to 10 range in leagues overall, and you're starting to see teams separate themselves upwards toward the top and some familiar faces that we've come to expect.
And the team that you're most familiar with is Drake and Murray State coaching changes, roster rebuilds, and the other two teams that had probably the most players coming back were Belmont and Northern Iowa. Let's talk about those four teams on this segment, and you can pick which one you want to talk about first.
Yeah, I mean, I think Belmont, Coach Casey Alexander, I think this is his best, maybe his deepest team since they've been in the Valley. And to your point, roster continuity has helped this team get off to a good start. You look at some of the good wins, Lipscomb, Toledo coming off a good win this weekend with Middle Tennessee State. They haven't really been tested. They've had good games, not really the great big time opponents. But I think you look at just the way this team's gelling together, right? No surprise, Tyler Lundblade's been the offensive leader, 16 a game, shooting almost 10 threes a game, which is a crazy, crazy number, shooting at high efficiency at 38%. I think Sam Orm has taken a really nice step. He's a real offensive threat. He was kind of a guy that I thought maybe was poised to be as good as anybody with their second year playing. He's been double figures in 8 of 9, I think a little bit more aggressive, which is really good. But the biggest question mark going in with Belmont was Nick McLean, the point guard position. How was he going to come in kind of as the lone transfer with a lot of returners? And I think he's been great. I think he's been a perfect fit for Casey Alexander's offense. He almost had a triple double against Charleston, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. I think he's been a really good fit to help get this team go on the offensive end. And what we know about Belmont, a lot of shooters and a lot of guys that are gonna play with pace. You mentioned one of the other teams with a lot of roster continuity, preseason number one in the league, Illinois State. We talked about slow starts, started the year 1-2. And I think there were maybe some surprised eyes going on around the valley when you look at those losses. Where we sit now with the team at 8-2, it's a little bit less surprising, right? Because you just look at who they played. Maybe a little surprised with Ohio, but that USC game is a good game. Good wins against Cornell, neutral wins versus Charlotte and Furman. And, I think the offense has been good for Illinois State, but I think Ryan Peden would tell you that that group with the roster continuity, with the expectations, can continue to get better. I think the biggest surprise as I look at the Redbirds is Tyreek Coleman. Man, oh man, second leading scorer for a freshman on a loaded team, had 24 against Cornell, went to the free throw line 13 times in that game. Just brings such a different offensive pace and an attacking mindset that I think helps with floor spacing for the shooters on the perimeter. I think Bowden Skunberg's been good too. And Chase Walker hasn't yet consistently gotten to what we saw last year, where he was over 20 11 times. Hasn't been over 20 yet this year, but I think as we get into the Valley season, Chase Walker is still going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, both Illinois State and Belmont winning an in-season tournament, and Northern Iowa, another team that we talked off air about their returnees, and they've got a lot of guys coming back from last year's team. They have high expectations in Cedar Falls.
Yeah, man, close loss both to Tulsa and in overtime to Wichita. Otherwise, this Northern Iowa team, I think it's been a great schedule for Coach Jacobson. And, UNI does what they do. They win the games they're supposed to win. I think Trey Campbell has been really, really good. Leon Bond is coming back off the injury, the way he left, right? Just looks really, really comfortable, the leading scorer for this group. And the other player I think who's made a really nice jump, and Coach Jacobson talked about him in the offseason, but Will Hornseth being in a role vacated by, both Titan Anderson and the big fella in the middle, and Will Hornseth now has a lot of expectations. I think he's really made a jump, just looks really comfortable in year two. The other guy that I really like for the Panthers, Tristan Smith, really good athlete. He's heady, adds some toughness, helps balance out the roster with his ability to get downhill and just his leaping ability. You still look at Northern Iowa sitting at 7-2. You feel good about where they are. A couple more chances play Oakland and St. Mary's. That's a chance for a couple more quality wins around the Valley.
Yeah, we've got a couple of key non-conference matchups that week before Christmas that you mentioned. The St. Mary's one. Belmont will play two league games, and then they'll play Irvine and one more solid test heading out to California. So we've got a couple of really important games heading into the league contiguous play after Christmas.
Yeah, the last note that I'll leave you with, Mike, I think we're setting up to be a really exciting Valley season, right? We talked about the three teams with roster continuity. The darling of the offseason, Murray State, new coach, all new team, high billing, and largely Murray State has kind of been as advertised. If Valley fans haven't had a chance to watch the Racers, they are a high potent, powered offense, a ton of firepower. Javon Jackson, the UIC transfer, I think, has been really good. The Creighton transfers, King and Miller, have both been good. I think Lane Taylor's a guy not shooting it necessarily well from three yet, but once he gets going, look out for this offense. And the one guy, if you're around the league, you haven't watched Murray, the one guy you have to tune in for, and hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, Roman Damon, the Frenchman, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 6'9", really good athlete. He can shoot it. He can handle. He's really savvy. He keeps getting better. When it's all said and done, he might be one of the best players in this league.
Man, Murray State playing to their nickname. They are racing up and down the floor. They're leading league in scoring. One of four teams, 80 or points or better so far this season on offense. All right, Adam, that'll wrap us up for this week. We'll visit next week. We'll have some insights into the next round of conference matchups, and we'll take a look at the non-conference schedule that we've played this past weekend.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to it.
All right, thank you, Adam. We'll see you later.